Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have 7 new cases who were detected of the COVID-19. For the international scene, more than 30,000 dead in Italy. Welcome to our newsroom. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Saleh Banoita Turaba, has held a press briefing which will be held daily according to the evolutions of the situations as follow. For the first time since the beginning of the epidemic in our country, say 2 people tested positive and hospitalized in Artas Hospital are considered with care after 2 negative PCR tests. Concerning the situations on the day of COVID-19 in Djibouti, 204 tests were carried out. 7 tested positive at COVID-19, including 6 contact cases and 1 new case. 80 people remained in quarantine at the COVID. Since the beginning of the epidemic, we have therefore carried out 1,237 tests, and the total numbers of positive cases is 40 people, including carried cases. This is remind us how vulnerable and dependent we are on each other. Responsible for behavior by each of you can save lives. It is our duty to remind you of the barriers that stand in the ways of your actions. Wash hands with soap or drought and sneeze into the crease of your elbow and into that tissue which should be discarded immediately. Maintain a social distance of at least 1 meter. Disinfect the surfaces of regular contact. Respect containment and stay at home. Finally, those who have tested negative for COVID-19 must imperatively complete a 14 days home quarantine. The meeting debate on the steering committee in charge of COVID crisis 19. This meeting debate brought together at the leadership and entrepreneurship center several members of the government, including the minister in charge of economy and finance, the minister of social affairs, solidarity, the minister of labor, the minister of trade, the secretary of state for decentralization. Objective is to put in place an organization and working methodology in order to take emergency measures to deal with COVID-19 at the economic and social levels. As a reminder, 3 development scenarios were initially taken into the account on the economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis: a reference scenario and a moderate scenario with a significant impact on the national economies as a whole, a catastrophic scenarios with a long-term impact on the national economy as a whole, including a drop-off in activity in the strategic sector. On the social aspect, the minister indicated that the informal sector remains the most affected by the containment and that 50% of these people are registered on the basis of the data on her department. A study will be needed to identify them. The private sector is not to be outdone and also suffers from containment, the president of the Chamber of Commerce said. The Minister of Social Affairs, Mona Osman Aden, and the Secretary of State for Decentralization, Hamadou Mohamed Aramis, on the social aspect, indicate that the informal sector remains the most affected by the containment and that 15% of these people are registered on the basis of the data on her department. Studies will be needed to identify them. The Minister of Trade, Hassan Hamad Arbahim, as a reminder, 3 development scenarios were initially taken into account on the economic impacts of the COVID-19 crisis. He said a reference scenario, a moderate scenario with a significant impact on the national economy as a whole. For his part, the Minister of Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, tells us the objective is to put in place an organization and working methodology in order to take emergency measures to deal with COVID-19 at the economic and social level. Following the example set by the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, who was the first contributor of this solidarity, the Kubesh Company, parliamentarian and the staff of the National Assembly and the group Al-Gamin have all handed over today in the form of a check their contribution to fight against coronavirus pandemic. Indeed, they contributed the following amount: the Kubesh Company of 20 million, staff of the National Assembly who also contribute an amount of 8.5 million, Djibouti franc group Al-Gamin. This legendary surge of solidarity by Djiboutians is launched even in the working class neighborhoods with the committee working to raise funds for the fight against COVID-19. Large-scale spraying operations are continuing in the capital's neighborhood, wearing masks and gloves. Men in white uniforms spray the floor and open surfaces with disinfectant. Health workers disinfect facilities and street furniture to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. For the international scene, World Health Organization is concerned about the evolutions of COVID-19 in the 4 months since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The virus has been spreading at high speed through the countries of the world. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, has expressed his concern about the alarming evolutions of the pandemic. On Wednesday, the WHO, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund have jointly launched an appeal for debt relief for these countries so that they can take care of their populations. More than 900,000 people worldwide are infected with the coronavirus. COVID-19 has caused more than 46,000 deaths internationally. The United States is ahead of Italy, China with over 200,000 infected and 4,700 dead. 727 new people have died from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours in Italy. The total numbers of the deaths is 30,000, according to the latest death tolls released Wednesday evening by the Italian Ministry of Health. This dramatic number, however, maintains hope because it is falling. Yesterday, the Italian authorities announced 837 new deaths in Italy as a whole. 100,000 confirmed cases have been recorded since the start of this health crisis. Rome also reported that 4,000 people were still in intensive care on Wednesday evening. Italian head of government Giuseppe Conte confirmed Wednesday evening that the containment measures imposed on Italians would last at least until 13 April. Faced with this situation, the president of the Italian Council, Giuseppe Conte, on the Wednesday made a solemn appeal to Germany for great European solidarity to overcome the tsunamis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought Italy to its knees. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.